I decided, why am I not racing on the Nürburgring? Back in 1995, I went to Germany with my dad, and a love of racing and a love of cars, Porsches in particular, started at that point. We were on a business trip, and I was 9 years old, and we were at the AVIS rental car company counter, and there was a sign that said, "Rent a 911." And my dad had some boring Mercedes turbo diesel wagon rented, and we didn't really have much at that time. And he's like, we can't afford it. We cannot. This isn't happening. Like, get it out of your mind. We're not renting a Porsche. Sure enough, the lady behind the counter, I don't know, she thought I was a cute kid or something like that. And she overheard our conversation, and she said, "Mr. Engelman." My dad's name was Wolfgang, by the way. Cool name, Wolfgang Engelman. But my dad, got up to the counter, and she said, "I overheard your conversation with your son, and we could get you a brand new Porsche for 20, 30 Deutschmarks a day." That was like 15, 20 bucks at the time, if you wanted. The only catch is it's a brand new car, and we're prepping it. We just got it this morning. It just came off the truck, and we just have to prepare the car and clean it up, get it ready, wait an hour, and you can get this car. So my dad agrees to it, and an hour later, 993 C4S in Polar Silver pulls up. Beautiful car. I didn't really know about Porsches, and I really knew about Porsches after that. So we were driving around Germany, going to different garden centers. My family, we grew up, we had greenhouses, and that was our thing. So my dad would look at these different retailers and want to see what they were doing over there, because it always translated a few years later into the American market. So we were driving on the Autobahn all around Germany in this 993 C4S, and I was a 9-year-old going 170 miles an hour, 270 kilometers an hour, whatever that equates to, and just stemmed from there. And there was one car in particular that really got me into cars. It was a Riviera Blue. I think it was either Riviera Blue or Blue Turquoise. I've tried to find out the specific color of that car. I have a picture of it, but the lighting was off. 993 RS. We saw that at a dealership, and that was where it just really hit me. That's the point where I was like, I am going to own a Porsche one day. And I've since owned a Porsche, and I actually worked for the company for a while. That really stemmed my love for Porsches. And my dad and I, we left the dealership, and that was the same day that I went to the Nürburgring for the first time, and we went and watched the Touristenfahrten, and an obsession started at a very young age. So fast forward to 2010, my buddies and I used to go over there on trips. I had been there with my dad one time after that, and unfortunately my dad, he passed away from cancer in 2013. And him and we were like this. Not a sob story. The way I try and look at it is, I had an amazing dad up into my 20s, and that was better than most people have. He was the coolest dude alive, huge car guy. But in memory of my dad, because he loved the Nürburgring, we had that special bond starting from a very young age. I would make a tradition of spray painting his name on the racetrack, on a particular corner called Pflanzgarten. Pflanzgarten means plant garden, and we were in the plant business, so I thought it was appropriate to do that. And our last name is Engelman, which means man of the angel, so I spray painted Wolfgang Engelman on the track with a little red angel, and it became a tradition moving forward to go there every year and reapply the paint, because sometimes they'd repave things at the Nürburgring. The Nürburgring is an always changing track, because they're always repaving and changing things. People will crash somewhere, so they'll say, we're going to get rid of this bump, but always repaving, when the tires are also rubbing the paint off of the Nürburgring. So we would just go reapply it, and I was going out there every year, and it became more and more and became this obsession. And in the late 2010s, around 2016 or 17, I had been doing club racing in the States. I was racing Spec E30, just old crappy BMWs and bumper cars. It's a cheaper version of Spec Miata, and I decided, why am I not racing on the Nürburgring? I race cars here, why can't I race there? And it was surprisingly inexpensive to race cars in Germany at a very high level. So I started racing in an amateur series called RCN, and then basically once you've performed in the RCN series, you get the proper licensing, you can go on to a series called VLN, which is now known as NLS, which is the the top level series out there. You have drivers, I mean, even F1 drivers have driven in that series. I raced with Robert Kubica at one point. That race actually got canceled due to a snowstorm. Kevin Estre, a lot of top level pro drivers are out there with you, so it's a really cool experience. But I started racing in 2018 in that VLN series and never looked back. And I raced with two Scandinavian gentlemen from 2018 until this year. They were helping me race, really great experience. And next year I'm going to be racing in a Volkswagen TCR car with a racing team called Max Cruz Racing. We're ironing out the final details. It's a really, really good team, fun group of guys, and we did a test run this year with my buddy Amir, and we both decided that we really liked that team, and we got along together, and we're in the works of getting something going for 2022. Every race car costs money. So a race team is they're gonna have the car, whether it's a GT3 Cup car or a low-level BMW 325, and they're gonna come up with the cost to run the car. Tires is usually your biggest consumable. That's where a lot of the cost arises from. Let's say on average, a race weekend out in the NLS series would cost you between 5,000 and 10,000 euros per seat per weekend. And a full season, you can usually get a little better deal because you're paying a big bulk upfront cost. But let's say a season of racing over there costs you $150,000 or 150,000 euros. You have to figure out a way to pay for that. So some people can afford to just stroke that check. They write your check to the race team and boom, you're a race car driver. What I try and do, I've had to pay a lot of money for racing myself, especially in the beginning, to get to a level where I can actually have help and sponsorship. But once you get to the point where you can market yourself and where you're a good enough driver, you would then go out and look for sponsorship and try and get as much help to pay that bill as possible. Now, some people are able to get that plus some more. Some people are, basically on salary. If you're like a factory driver, that's your job and you're making good money driving a car. But in my case, I'm just trying to shrink that bill and pay as little as possible when I race. So you could obviously just stroke a big check and you could be with a top level team, or you could kind of take the route that I did and you could try and help out. You could try and use your skill as a driver and your competence behind the wheel to get you in a position to get a little bit of help. So that was the route I took. I had a lot of help from people just because I could move us a little bit further up on the field. Instead of ending up in 15th place in class, I could get us into 7th or 8th place in class. You can get help driving like that if you're really good at it. I did spend a lot of money on racing, but it definitely paid itself back for situations like that. And it also got me a job as a professional driving coach and driver for Porsche. I got a job at the Porsche Experience Center in Los Angeles from all of this racing. I'm able to get paid to drive cars. I can say that I've been paid money to drive people in a GT3 RS around a circuit, which I would have never had those opportunities had I not started racing in Germany and doing all of that. It's funny how things work out. So, back in '95, that one moment really shaped my life in a lot of ways. Her allowing us to rent a Porsche completely changed the trajectory of my life. Maybe if we didn't do that, I played soccer when I was little. Maybe I would have been a huge soccer enthusiast. But because of that one moment in my life, it took me on that path and started a love of cars and racing that I never expected, and it's made my life better because of it. Every friend I have, deals in business, have all come from driving and cars and racing, and it's, looking back, that one day shaped the rest of my life in a lot of ways.
We'd like to thank the Ticket Clinic for supporting VINwiki this month. When you get a ticket, no matter where it happens, you're risking points on your license, costly fines, insurance premium increases, and risks of suspension or jail time. So it's more important than ever to have great representation. The Ticket Clinic is a nationwide law firm that can help you fight a ticket no matter where you get it. It's easier than ever to start a relationship with them. You'll just take your ticket, snap a picture of it, and text that picture to 305-305. You can also reach them at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.